I've gotten other speaking engagements, both before the pandemic and since Zoom. That, in other words, the skills you learn for the TEDx talk, make you a presentable speaker in other situations, because you have to, in that fixed amount of time, you have to kind of let people know what you're about. So
Yeah.
it's really helpful in both in terms of people reaching out to you, but also in terms of knowing, what your information is, that it's about them, not about you, and lots of
Yeah.
things that were just almost subtleties in the course.
So I'm really excited to interview one of my top TalkXcelerator graduate students. We've got Dr. Ron Kaiser on the line, and I think everyone can learn a lot from his journey. I'm going to spoiler alert, he's a TEDx speaker, a successful TEDx speaker now, and he has 100,000 views plus at the time of this recording. That may seem like a drop in the ocean down the line. We don't know how big this is going to go, but really excited. So Ron, thank you for speaking to me today, and congratulations, because this is the first time we've spoke since you passed that 100,000 views marker. So congratulations.
Well, thanks very much, Adam. It's a pleasure seeing you again. And as I tell you every time I see you, I couldn't have done it without you.
Awesome. Well, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then obviously your idea worth sharing, but just tell us about your setup, your business, and what you're up to.
Okay, well, I am a positive health psychologist, and I've worked largely in the headache field. And one of the things I learned in working with headache patients is that it's really important to not give up, to stay active, to continue to focus on wellness rather than on disease. And then as I got older, I saw too many of my peers who just hadn't prepared for the fact that nowadays, with the expanded lifespan, we've got lots of years to live beyond, for many people, retirement. In my case, it wasn't retirement, but the reality is that it's very important to not run out the clock, because among other things, it means that you're not paying attention to your health and fitness, to your keeping your mind active, to your social connections, and so on. So my speech was really devoted to kind of my topic. I call it rejuvenating, which is actually the name of my book.
I was going to say, you can see it over Ron's shoulder there. So and that's how we connected. He's author of Rejuvenating, as you can see there.
Yeah, Rejuvenating, the art and science of growing older with enthusiasm. And just as I know your book has gained you some notice throughout the world, I'm a little behind you, but
what a reason I think it's going to be helpful for people as well. You can see how the TEDx platform can fit into, an author's or a coach's or a speaker's kind of their own individual makeup, because you'd already done the book. That's your message. And whereas me, I did the TEDx talk first, Awaken Your Alpha, then the book came after. So there's no, set way to do it. And everyone's at a different, stage in their journey. And we're going to find out from how it happened for you. It's probably going to have different for everyone else as well. So if you can think back to when we connected, as I say, both authors at that time, and you came into the program. Can you remember almost like, why did you come into the program? So anyone listening, because you wanted to do a TEDx for a while, I think, and so talk to us about like almost before you started and as you started the process.
Yeah, it was probably a little bit arrogant, but I thought I had a real idea worth sharing that nobody was really talking about in the same way. I had different various concepts that I thought were really important to get out into the world. And I thought, geez, this will be fairly easy if I get a little bit of guidance. I'll, be able to apply. And again, I did it from a position of arrogance. Why would somebody turn me down?
But you'd always wanted to do a TEDx, if I remember.
Oh yeah. No, I had thought about it for years, and in fact, I'd gotten a book or two, an ebook, but nothing gave me the structure that TalkXcelerator, did, in terms of having a structure for really doing each step along the way. I mean, I know it it may seem like it's relatively easy that you got a 10 or 15-minute talk. How hard can it be if you're used to teaching or doing some of the stuff that I was doing? But the reality is that it's a very specific kind of thing, and it's very important. If you've got an idea worth sharing, it's not a lot of time to get it out there. And there is a structure and an application process that's important. And what you may not know is, having done that, it actually has helped me get other talks since then, both before the pandemic and on Zoom since the pandemic.
Definitely. Well, that's good to hear. And I suppose as well, what was that? You said you got information before, and with that, in the early days, sort of, what do you think was some of the useful aspects outside? Obviously, we had that you had the step-by-step, the training, the modules, and then we have obviously our office hours, our Q&A calls to keep. What really worked for you in the early days? Because I know, like I said, I think we really thought you was going to get it really quick. But what was working for you in the early days, and for someone else coming into the process?
Okay, well, first of all, maybe I should point out before I get into that I did apply to 2 other places first while I was in the program, and got rejected. They were very nice rejections. They said, try again, or we've got too many speakers on the same topic, or we have a limited number of speakers. And at least one of them gave me some advice too. So I think that's an important thing, that
Yes.
having the support, as opposed to me getting a rejection and say, well, that sucks. So
Yeah, because that was kind of anticipated. So in total, and this is something I'm quite proud of, you applied to 3 talks in the program, of 3 events in the program.
Right.
Great. Yeah.
Yes, I probably would have applied to more if I'd have gotten rejected the 3rd time, but I made it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
in terms of,
can we just, I was going to say, can we dig into that, one of those rejections as well, and just the realities of, so someone coming in and think, just 1, 2, 3, you got it in the 3rd time. But I remember as well, I'd managed to secure it and got an interview with, I think it was your organizer for the second, what turned out to be the rejection. And I think we were both really felt, and I think other people in the group really felt this was the one. And I feel, you had the application. I think you watched the insider interview and from the organizer, and then something happened right near the end, because you were a great fit for the event. Can you remember what happened?
Well, I know on one of them, and the rejections run together, but I know on one of them, rather than relying on, just letting it stand out there, I kind of let the organizer know that I had seen his interview, your interview of him, and
which was only like days old. It hadn't been released. This was kind of like, direct to you kind of thing, straight off, like raw footage. Yeah,
and I have to assume they thought I was trying to do something other than rely on my skill for doing it. But I do have to point out, though, that having those interviews with the organizers, when you ask about things that are very specific and concrete, I don't know if anybody else does that. I never heard of anybody doing that. But when you hear what the organizers want,
and for that specific for that specific year, for that kind of, for specific, literally that setup for that application deadline. I think what happened in that scenario, and we all learned from that process. And, I'm very, I always highlight to people, make sure, obviously if it comes up, sure, but don't, I feel like that's that competitive edge as well, because what happened in that scenario for you was, you were such a great fit. And I think, you'd done your homework, you was very prepared, you knew exactly what they wanted, and it did work. So you knew kind of how to approach it. And then it just put that element of doubt, where once he knew you'd seen him basically saying exactly what he wanted, and are you just telling him what he wanted to hear at that time? When the reality was you were a great fit for it. But I think it just, these landing these TEDx, it's an art and a science, but it's just these little things, isn't it? These little subtle, to kind of get this competitive edge, and it's kind of all the sum of all parts. And I've had other people who think they've definitely got it, and then it may just be they've already got a speaker who's speaking on a similar topic, or at least the organizer feels they've already got someone in that realm. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that because that's never really come out, the reality, because obviously I think then we had a second run, and I think we was all like, oh, we might have missed our opportunity, but we had a second run and managed to get a scenario where we organized interviewed the organizers and managed to get that to you just before the application closed. And then obviously we were successful at that time.
Yeah, the one that I applied to was one where we had where organizers were interviewed by you.
Yeah, there was
So,
two of them. It was a fun interview,
yeah,
joint
yeah,
interview. Yeah.
yeah. But the second time, I did it on my own and not trying to. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. I get, if I have interns applying for me, and somebody is just too cute in terms of using some of the terminology or stuff like that, or too prepared, that's not an advantage. It's not a
Yeah.
competitive advantage. And, particularly, I think anybody who's doing this TEDxcelerator or TalkXcelerator has an idea worth sharing that they're really into. It's important to own that idea and think in terms of how is that going to affect the audience that you're presenting, because it's really about them more than it is about you.
Yeah. And as we went through, I think the thing I really liked and I felt confident, and this happens, for a lot of my students sometimes when we feel like, yeah, we got a really strong chance, they may just put something in, or they may think, hey, yeah, I think I've got this covered. I won't mention it to Adam, or I won't get him to double check it. And what I liked when you went for that second one was like, right, let's not make sure this one we land this. It was like we not over the top, but we really we made sure we didn't assume. And little things like you shot a great video as part of your application, a little 2-minute video. And it was just, we were just checking everything. So you sent me that video. I had a quick watch and gave you a bit of feedback.
Yeah, the first time it wasn't as good as it was after you told me, after you gave me the feedback.
But and I think that's important. It's kind of like the people who do success from this process, I'm here to help. You've invested, and we both want the same shared goal. So, use the tools that are, at your disposal. And that's something I love. I'm very happy to watch that video, and straight away, just that relief, like, it's good. But if you just do a little bit more of this and a little bit less of this, it will come across so much more powerful. And it's just that you can't obviously read the label of your own bottle, and we all need coaches.
And what we haven't mentioned yet is the fact, I mean, it's not like they're crying for speakers. I mean, you're competing against quite a number.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm sure that some of them probably aren't all that good, but the fact is that there are others who have prepared themselves for it. So it is a matter of, you want to be the best, so that you want to make the best presentation so that it's recognized by them as well as by you.
Definitely. And so, I mean, just for everyone who's watching this, so I want to get some more views. We're over 100,000 views. It's it's going up quite steadily. What is the official title of your talk so people can go and check that out?
Aging enthusiastically to make the world a better place.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And so your talk has now been out just a little over a year. So talk to us about, the 100,000 views and how things have changed, or anything. I mean, you mentioned about it's been it's come out literally just at the start of the pandemic, and then obviously but how has things changed, and any benefits, and just how you feel now as writing as a TEDx speaker and being able to share that resource to anyone you come across, anything you think is relevant?
Well, for one thing, I think I'm going to try and apply again one of these days. But I think, again, people do see you. I mean, I'm surprised actually at how many people, regularly check out TEDx talks. And I think my topic it was a timely one because people are growing older, and they're either going to grow older actively and healthy in a healthy manner, or in a passive declining manner. So again, for example, I'd gotten one active adult community organization that had me present, and they live streamed it to, I think it was like 30 of their units when I did that. Basically, coming off of this
Yeah.
talk, I think that people see me, maybe not the go-to guy in this active aging area, but up there.
Yeah.
And I think that to a large extent, actually, the pandemic, I hate to say that it helped, but one of the things that we've learned is, number one, that you don't want to have to go to nursing homes if you don't have to. And number two, you want to limit having pre-existing conditions by being as healthy as you want. So I think that I gained a little bit from the timing, so that's been very, very enlightening and helpful.
Awesome. And I suppose just it's starting to wrap it up. And also, if there's anything else you want to say, obviously we can go as long as we want. But for anyone who's come across this either this audio or this video, and they're thinking they want a TEDx talk, otherwise I don't think they'd have got this far, and they're wondering if this is the right process course working with me. What would you say was some of the final kind of value, and what would you say to that person who's kind of on the fence?
Yeah, at least in my case, it wasn't the matter of looking at Adam's program versus somebody else's. If I wouldn't have done this, I would have continued to stay stuck. So I think that one of the things that is important to recognize is, if you've got an idea worth sharing, it's almost selfish not to do it.
Yeah.
And if it's worth doing, then the expense or the charge for the course is not, you're not like spending, five or six figures or something like that. In order, I mean, I don't know that I can measure it monetarily.
I say in terms of legacy as well. I mean, your talk is out there, and I mean, it's had a really strong start. And I mentioned it before we started recording. That's that's one of the your talk has surpassed mine, and that is that is so validating as well, in terms of, I know mistakes I made in my early talk. So it's like just tweaking and changing and learning from experience. So someone like yourself puts it out there, and it's there, and it's getting the the views it deserves on its merit, because it's been well thought through, put out there. And Ron, I'm just really happy for you, man.
Well, I'm thrilled, and I'm really, really thrilled that I met you, and that you actually, I think, reached out to me initially to tell me about it, or sent me an email that you're doing it. And again, this had been kicking around in my head for a while, but there's no like shelf life on the idea. I mean, if I don't put some structure on it, I'm not going to do it. It can be a great idea, and I just think, again, it's not, you're not taking a year-long course. You're not taking something. Again, I was, what is it? I
think it was you. Or so. You secured yours month 5. The first one we almost got, which we thought was probably about month 3, but month 5 you secured your TEDx talk, and then it wasn't too long after that. Actually, you actually performed it a few months later, I think. So.
Yeah, so I think that's a really important thing. It's a course, but it's a hands-on kind of thing, both in terms of what you're doing and the support that you get from Adam.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ron. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking.
I am always happy to talk on your behalf and support the wonderful work that you're doing, because getting ideas out into the world is just a wonderful, rewarding kind of place to be, and can only do it with help, and there's no better help available than yours.
Cheers.